The Lost Letter. Part 1. On the outskirts of an old town, hidden among narrow streets, stood a small antique shop. It was easy to overlook, but Mark loved places like this. He was drawn to the scent of old books, each holding a piece of history from another time. One evening, while flipping through a stack of worn leather-bound books, he accidentally found a dusty envelope tucked between the pages. It was sealed with an old wax stamp, nearly erased by time. The handwriting on the back was elegant and precise. If you are reading this, then fate has led you to the place I could never reach. I left this letter in the hope that one day, someone would complete what I could not. Go to the old lighthouse at midnight. The answer awaits there. Mark stared at the letter, his heart beating faster. This was a challenge, a mystery, a chance to touch something real. He couldn't ignore it. That very night, he set off for the lighthouse standing on the rocky coastline. Once, it had been an important beacon for sailors, but it had long since been abandoned. The wind carried the salty scent of the sea, waves crashed against the rocks, and the old wooden stairs creaked beneath his feet as he climbed. Inside, the lighthouse was dark and cold. In the dim glow of his flashlight, he noticed a wooden chest in the middle of the room. It was unlocked. Inside, he found another letter and an old photograph. "Thank you for finding me. I searched for the truth my whole life, but time was faster." Beneath the floorboard by the window is something that belongs to its rightful owner. The photograph showed a young couple, a smiling soldier in uniform and a delicate woman in a light dress. On the back was a handwritten note. "Find her. She has waited all her life." Mark carefully pried up the loose floorboard, revealing a small velvet box. Inside was a simple engagement ring, with initials engraved on the inside of the band. His heart tightened. Someone never made it back. Someone had been left waiting. He realized this wasn't just a letter. It was someone's final wish, a promise left unfulfilled. Would Mark be able to find the woman in the photograph? Or was it already too late? The story was only beginning. The Lost Letter. Part 2. Mark sat on the floor of the old lighthouse, holding the photograph and the ring. His heart was beating faster than usual. Who were they? Was the woman still alive? Why had this letter been left here? He put the items in his pocket and headed home. He couldn't sleep all night. His thoughts kept circling around the mysterious story. At dawn, he decided he had to find out the truth. The first lead took him back to the antique shop where he had found the letter. The shopkeeper, old Mr. Grayson, shook his head when Mark showed him the photo. "I'm not sure, son, but I think this book came to me from a man many years ago. He was already old, a bit reserved. James Howard. He used to come here often, buying letters, old photographs, as if he were searching for something of his own." James Howard. That was something. Mark went to the city archives, where he spent hours flipping through old records. Eventually, he found what he was looking for, a record of James Howard serving in the Army during World War II. He returned home in 1946, but didn't stay in town for long. But the most important detail was another name mentioned alongside his: Elizabeth Morrison. That could be the woman from the photograph. A meeting with the past. Finding information about Elizabeth wasn't easy, but luck was on Mark's side. In the city library, he came across a newspaper article from the 1990s, an interview with a local teacher who had waited all her life for a lover who never returned from the war. On the faded page was her photograph, an elderly woman with kind eyes. Mark decided to find her. Elizabeth lived in a nursing home. When Mark first saw her, she was sitting by the window, gazing into the distance. "Excuse me, Miss Morrison," he began hesitantly. "I found something that might belong to you." He handed her the photograph and the ring. The woman gently took them with trembling hands. Her eyes filled with tears. "James," she whispered. Mark didn't know what to say. "I thought he had forgotten me," she said, stroking the ring. "He promised to come back. I waited. I waited all my life." "He did come back," Mark said softly. "But something must have stopped him from finding you." Elizabeth smiled through her tears. "Fate plays strange games with us. But now I know he never forgot me. Thank you, dear." She clutched the ring in her palm as if she had regained a piece of her past. Mark stepped outside and took a deep breath. The sun was setting, painting the sky in golden hues. He felt that he had completed something important. Some stories should never be left unfinished.